Hi folks, so we're here with James Hewitt, who is the, I guess, is it lead designer or main designer for BlackJack Games?
Yeah, there's only two of us, so I feel like I think we decided that I'm the chief stuff writer, Sophie is the chief thing doer, but she started writing stuff, so I've got to start doing things now, which is just getting confusing really.
And make it all hard work for you then. So I guess for those that aren't aware of what you've done, you've obviously had a real kind of a history and a background in games and game development.
It sounds really ominous the way you said that.
A little bit, doesn't it? So if you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got started, and really kind of where you are up to now with BlackJack Games.
Yeah, cool. So I've been into games generally for a long time. I think I got Hero Quest for my 4th, 5th birthday or something.
That was how I started.
I think if you're a certain sort of generation, that is how you started. There's no two ways about it. It was Hero Quest, Space Crusade, you know, on from there. Because it was the TV advert, you know, everyone wanted that.
The broadsword.
I'll use my broadsword.
Absolutely. You've seen that there's an American dub and he says broadsword in a whole different way and it ruins the entire thing.
I'll use my broadsword.
So yeah, I got started with that and I've kind of been gaming pretty much since then. I think even to be fair, before then, board games are quite big in my family. Mum's quite into her board games, like the traditional stuff. And it was always, any kind of family get together, we'd get board games out. So I had a good sort of pedigree. And then as time went by, I got into the Games Workshop kind of stuff. Had some friends passing around White Dwarf magazines when I was about 9 or 10 and remembered it from Hero Quest and Space Crusade back in the day. And yeah, I think around 2002 I started working in Games Workshop retail. So I spent about a decade there, working in shops around the southeast. Ended up managing a couple of shops in the London area. And then thought, why am I in retail? This is I'm losing my life, you know. I don't get me wrong, I loved it, but the hours were crazy. And so yeah, we just took a sort of leap of faith and moved to Nottingham because it's a place, you know, why not?
If you want to be in the games, this is where you want to be.
It's the lead dot, isn't it, as they say? And I'd kind of had designs on getting into the game production design side of things for a long time. And so basically this was, like I say, it seems that as a nice sort of career move. I didn't have a job up here when I did it, so I did a bit of temp work, but I had a lead at Mantic Games, where someone I used to work with was working here and he knew that I was quite keen to get into game design, and so he kind of put me in touch, and I ended up doing a lot of work with Jake Thornton on Dreadball, which was quite big news. It was a really kind of nice, you know, view of how it could be. And off the back of that, I got some work with Mantic as a community manager. So I was doing a lot of YouTube videos, Facebook, going to events, going to different places. I know the joy of editing videos of yourself. It's great fun.
Always
staring in your face. And,
the most exciting part,
absolutely.
Cringing when you see yourself.
Did I really pull that face there? And then, ended up from there going to Games Workshop, doing some game design there for about 3 years, doing loads of different stuff. So I worked on Warhammer 40,000, Age of Sigmar, did a few standalone box games, so Gorchos and Betrayal at Calf, Silver Tower, then did Necromunda Blood Bowl and Adeptus Titanicus, which hasn't come out yet.
Still.
We demoed it last February and it hasn't come out, so I'm not quite sure where it is, but I'm sure when it comes out it'll be great. And then back in July last year, to catch us up to date, I left all of that and started BlackJack Games, which is a little, I don't know, we occasionally, if we're feeling particularly posh, we call ourselves a boutique game design service, because there's 2 of us and it's little. And so we design games on commission to clients in the games industry, or we do like consultancy. We help people make games.
So was that a big leap of faith for you to kind of to break away from
absolutely
not a 9 to 5 job, but you know?
Well, it is. I mean, that's the thing. In places like Games Workshop, there are so few places where you can go and be a full-time 9 to 5 game designer and work in an office environment with a bunch of people who are supporting you, helping you out, looked after. You've got an HR department, you've got annual leave, all this
holiday
stuff.
pay,
Exactly, and so now I'm saying all that, why have I done this? But it was kind of a thing where I'd wanted to do some stuff for myself for a long time, and one of the things I really enjoy about this industry, I love getting out there and chatting to people and all of that, and kind of getting a view of the bigger picture, whereas when you're part of a big company, any big company, you're only ever going to do a small part of the job, aren't you? So I was doing a lot of the game design, but I wasn't getting to sort of pick what kinds of game I was designing. It was, this comes here, you're going to write this now. And don't get me wrong, I think everything I worked on I loved. But it's nice to have a little bit more control and say, actually, I want to do something like this for a change. So, for example, I've started looking at games that don't involve miniatures, which is lovely because everything I've done has been so zeroed in on that.
I can imagine,
So I'm looking at doing some little card games, like Euro-style games and things.
Excellent.
And so this has been, like I said, a big leap of faith. But so far, it's working out.
That's fantastic.
This will get played back, you realise, like in a year's time when I go horribly bankrupt.
You can always tell me I'll edit that bit out in the future.
Cut that bit out. Yeah.
So with the games that you're working on now, are you you're starting off as freelance doing some games for other companies? Are you working on stuff of your own as well when you get time? I suppose.
Kind of the plan is that Needy Cat currently, provides a service to other existing companies. But long term. And I mean, this is probably 18 months to 2 years-ish, depending on who you ask. If you ask the bank manager, it's very soon. The plan is to start looking at crowdfunding and putting our own stuff out there. What's actually quite interesting at the moment in Nottingham, because there are so many little games companies, we've started clubbing together a little bit. So we've got a little group of the Nottingham Games Design Collective, and there's about 70 people on there, which is crazy. And we have little monthly meetups, and there's already talk of putting together a little I think the posh term for it is an incubation hub, like a building with little offices, and everyone can go in there and you're all kind of working around each other.
Excellent.
And so I think maybe being part of that is quite a cool next step.
I guess that's one of the things of being a Games Workshop. You're in amongst a big team of creative people as well, and it rubs off and it improves what you do and you improve what they do.
Completely. It was a great place to really learn the craft, especially when you're working amongst people who have been in the industry for 10, 20, 30 years. You get a real feel for the best ways to do things, because everyone designs games differently, but there are certain ways you shouldn't do things, and it's nice to get some advice from people that have done it the wrong way and learn.
Of course,
so that's kind of where we are now.
I guess the other side of it as well is that for all you're all in the same industry, it's not necessarily competitive. There's enough people buying games. They're not buying your game over somebody else's. People tend to buy more than one.
I was actually describing this, I think, to my dad the other day, saying what it was all about. He's like, it's a bit weird working with the competition. It's like, well, it's not really competition because we've got sculptors, artists, editors, writers. You're all kind of in the same industry, and the thing is, as a gamer myself, I have never not bought a game because I've thought, I've already got one. That's not how it works.
There's never enough.
Exactly. It's a hobby, as we all know, about buying things and putting them on shelves and occasionally getting them out and playing with them.
Exactly.
It's all about the having that is the thing.
And I guess as an industry, if the big guys kind of succeed and they do well, the industry grows and everybody else benefits from it. So there's no reason to really to try and hinder each other.
It's a very symbiotic thing. So as Games Workshop does well, for example, in recent months, it's done some amazing. Since I left, they've been doing brilliant. I was just holding it back, really.
It's all your work coming out now after. Go on,
obviously, that's the way I should be saying it. But so they've done well, and what you get is it's the same when Kickstarter started bringing lots of money into the industry. Crowdfunding was a big thing, and then bigger investors started looking and going, well, actually, there's some money in this, isn't there? And the same thing's happening now with Games Workshop. People are willing to invest more in the smaller companies. And also people, like myself, are going, well, actually, this is a viable thing. There's money here. I could do this,
It's even when you see now as well, and there's so many games, probably in the last 6 to 12 months, that have come out with licensing with them now as well. And at one point, games probably wouldn't have made enough to justify spending that money on a license.
That's exactly it. Because with a board game license, you're generally looking at having to pay an upfront cost to get the license, and then pay a fee or whatever else. And it was quite the case that a lot of board game companies wouldn't be in a position to do that. But also with things like crowdfunding now, even like 3-4 years ago when Kickstarter was kind of in its infancy in this industry, certainly, people like the companies that own these licenses were quite reluctant to give out a license to go on Kickstarter. And that's not an issue anymore. They're all over the place. I think a couple of them did it, and now everyone else has gone, oh yeah, fair enough, we can do that.
They understand kind of it's that balance of risk, isn't it, at the end of the day?
Absolutely. And I think that the benefit of something like Kickstarter is it mitigates part of that risk, because you can see up front, right, this many people want this thing, let's make it.
If nobody backs it, then you've almost got your kind of
that's it. You've lost a bit of money. You've lost a bit of money in like your development and design, but you haven't at least got a warehouse full of stuff that's not going to sell.
Exactly.
In theory.
Of course. But I guess it then benefits the wider audience because it brings people into games that maybe weren't into games, and it's definitely I feel like at the minute there's a lot of information about people are becoming more sort of social in their free time instead of this kind of isolated online gaming. People are starting to get back into board games.
I think there's a lot of reasons for it. I think one of them is that people of in their 20s and 30s, they want to do something of an evening.
Yeah.
Pubs are so expensive these days, and I think people want to have a thing they can sit at home and do. And I think especially in this country, certainly, we've always had a strong culture of parlour games and board games and hanging out with your friends. And it's having a thing to do while you're hanging out with your friends, you know. So I mean, for us, dinner and a board game is a standard night. It's a cheap night. We've got a family. We can't afford to do much, but we can get someone over once the kids to bed. And I think that's really, really interesting, because what that means is that people that wouldn't necessarily have played many games before are doing it now. And the knock-on effect from that is that games are reacting and becoming not necessarily simpler, but easier to pick up. People are starting to look. I mean, even some big players like Fantasy Flight. You look at their games from 8-10 years ago. Recently I played their Game of Thrones board game. I don't know if you've played it, but you compare it to the stuff they do now, and it's so much clunkier in its presentation. You have to keep looking in the rule book and all this, whereas now they're getting very good and people are following their lead, going, right, don't worry, here's a quick start guide, here's a reference sheet, here's all this stuff. And so I think because more people are doing it, the games companies are then making the games easy to pick up, and there are so many videos online, resources, tutorials, which means more people are doing it. So it's this kind of big spiral going outwards.
I mean, even with Fantasy Flight, some of the stuff they're doing with the app companions as well, to do with some of the games, it's really kind of using technology and helping people coach them through the game step by step.
Transformed Mansions of Madness from a game that you look at and you feel like you need a stiff drink, just to get through the rulebook. Now with an app, it's like this very wonderfully complex, deep game. And the rulebook's paper thin. We'll start and then it'll tell us what to do. Brilliant.
It feels a lot less daunting when you haven't got pick a big tome up to try and read. So kind of building on that, I guess, about themes and stuff. And so when you're starting with a game, somebody comes to you and says, "I'd like you to make this game for me." Have you got some kind of mechanics in mind that fit certain themes, or does the theme lead the game quite a lot? Or?
I mean, every project is it starts from the ground up. Generally, when someone comes to me with an idea, it'll be, we've got a range of miniatures, or we've got an idea that we really like, so they've kind of got the kernel of an idea there. It's very rare someone comes to me, it has happened where they come to me and go, "Do you want to publish a game?" And that's it. It's like, awesome. A lot more often than that, it is, we want a game based on this. It's roughly this size box, this price point. These are roughly the contents. Make what you can with it. So that's kind of always the starting point. Is what is the client's vision for the
what's the end point, and trying to go back from there.
And then from there, I mean, generally, if there's a theme involved, it's about looking at every mechanic and working out, does it fit the theme of it, for example, and how do you want the players to feel, what sort of experience you want the players to have. I'm a big believer in the player experience, and a big part of that is what decisions they're making, what things they're thinking about, what kind of emotions you're getting out of the game. And I can't guarantee I always hit that on the head, but it's certainly what I'm always trying to do. So,
No, I mean, obviously I'm here today because we've just been part of the Hellboy playtest, which is a bit of a kind of exclusive there. We'll have another video following up later on when we talk about Hellboy, but I think it's certainly interesting. I've never been part of a playtest before.
How did you find it?
So this for me was really interesting. It's good to see at this stage there's the themes there in the game. It certainly has the theme of Hellboy, and it's also, you're starting to see how mechanics interact, and it's at this stage it's not about balancing, it's about just getting the game working. And about does it flow. And I found it really interesting that there's bits that obviously were a little bit clunky at times. There's some bits that were just really instinctive and really intuitive, so it was really interesting to see it from that.
Absolutely,
almost a really alpha level.
When you get people that are kind of coming to playtesting fresh, it's interesting because of course if you haven't done it before, your only experience of a game that is a bit clunky in places is generally a game that you might think, that's actually a bit naff.
That hasn't been done very well.
But it's so nice to do that, I think, and then go, but actually we can work on it and iterate it. And I mean, for me, like I say, so from today, the big win for me was looking at the game going, does it feel right? Are people enjoying themselves? And generally, except for when the rules got a little bit clunky in places, people were enjoying themselves. And nothing felt like it ground any games to a halt.
No.
People got through it, and so that to me feels like a good playtest day. And I've got reams of notes to go through, which I'll do. and it feels like we're in a really good place in it.
Oh, definitely. I mean, even just from kind of my opinion for today, the guys I played with, so I stayed with the same group of 3 guys. There was 4 of us played together, a few different scenarios. Great set of guys. It was really interesting to play a game where we were looking to see how it played, as well as just trying to play to enjoy it. So that was really interesting, and it just the amount of feedback that people had, and it's not a case of, oh, I don't like that, or that doesn't work. There was some constructive feedback. There's some real kind of solutions from people, whether they work or not. There's ideas.
I think people that play board games generally, this is a massive generalisation. People who play board games, they like looking for solutions to things, and rather than just going, ooh, it sucks, you'll generally get some really good feedback. I love that. I mean, as a person who designs stuff, I live on feedback, and there are some designers who don't so much. Some people find it a little bit galling sometimes. I won't lie, when you get blasted in the face with, I can imagine a huge amount of negativity, it can be a little bit like that. But what's lovely is you then take that and you do something with it, and just making a little change sometimes, you can fix so much. You've
certainly got to be thick-skinned. There was a couple of points today where obviously people are saying, I don't think this works very well, or that doesn't seem to be quite
especially in a room full of people where someone, and also this, this as well.
And while you're on. So you do have to be thick-skinned because it's your baby, I guess. Like, you put that game out there and you're getting a massive amount of feedback.
Thankfully, having worked for Games Workshop before, you're very used to putting something out into the world and watch people just shoot it down. But the thing you have to remember is that it always comes from a good place. People that give that kind of feedback, they just want it to be good, and at this point we absolutely need that, and we can make it good. I think it's already good. We can make it better. We can improve it and sand down those rough areas.
I think from my point of view, it's obviously at a very early stage at the moment, but where it is, it's in a fantastic place, and I can see it's only going to get better from feedback like today.
And I think there's now going to be a very sharp curve in the speed at which it improves, because the groundwork is there, and just by making a few little changes, suddenly it's going to really start ticking.
Fantastic. Well, thanks very much, James.
Thank you.
What we'll do is we'll have another video coming up on the channel very soon where we'll go into a little bit more in depth about Hellboy, but as a bit of an introduction into James and BlackJack Games, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cheers.